Hey, maybe the Feds want a recession because some of the Wall Street guys would love a recession. Why? Because there's carnage in those that have capital, that have liquidity. When the time of recession comes, just like, hey, look at that office space. There's people that bought office that were crushing it. Now those people realize, like in San Francisco, the building they bought that was worth, a few $100 million is now selling for $70, $80 million. And those that have capital come in, buy the property and win. So maybe the Feds don't want to hike. Maybe the Feds want to drag this out. Maybe they really do want to break the economy. Maybe they're just bluffing. Maybe they're not serious, but we just don't know. And we don't really understand because they tell us one thing, the data lands where they're supposed to be watching that data, and then it changes. But what if they do not hike? What if they do not lower rates? There's even Feds talking about maybe we should hike rates. There's now the argument saying they're not going to lower rates. So it's a very interesting time right now because we get data that's mixed. We get jobs reports that are mixed. We're going to get the revised. This week is huge because the Feds are going to talk. Powell is going to talk. He's going to testify. And whatever he says could really screw up rates even further, the market, because look, he might come out and say, we're not going to cut in June. We're going to kick the can down the road. We want more stuff. It's very, very frustrating for all of us, but especially for those in the mortgage industry, for the real estate industry, because it's bringing so much uncertainty to the rest of the people that want to buy because we're getting mixed signals and mixed messages. So what are we going to do? We're going to find out. But until then, old and slow, that is the Feds today. Welcome back, everybody. It's another week with your one and only Kenny Simpson. And this week, we have lots to talk about. And I'm honestly so sick of talking about the Fed. I just wish they would just cut and be done with it. But they have their reasons why they're not going to cut. But like I said, they missed inflation, raising rates earlier by a year. Don't be surprised if they miss this. So anyways, we're really not getting much listings. I can tell you here for San Diego, it's super competitive. There's not enough house on the market. When a house comes up, it's definitely becoming a bidding war. It's what's the tactic? How can I get my offer accepted? I got to call the listing agent. We got to put over ask. We got to move contingencies. We got to close quick. All this stuff. It's very tough out there. If you're a home buyer, I feel for you because it's challenging. There's not much on the market. And when something comes on and it's decent in a decent neighborhood, boy, oh boy, there's a lot of you pouncing on it. And man, if rates come down and we don't get that inventory, it's going to be brutal. So you could wait to buy a home, but if we don't get the inventory and rates go down, when they do go down, whatever we're going to say, eventually they will go down. Something's going to break because the Feds are good at doing that. You'll probably be glad you bought now, not then. I'll leave that there. What is going on with mortgage rates? Well, the PC came in as expected, which is good, in line. The Feds talked this week, so I think Wednesday he's going to start talking. So if I were you and I was going to lock in a loan, and I know you're going to get this video on Wednesday, I think morning, when the Feds are going to talk. But as I said on my social this morning, if you have to lock in, don't play the game. Hey, look, if the Fed says something that's great or the jobs report's worse than we think, and rates go down, we'll figure it out, folks. You float it down. You go to a different lender. Hate to say that, right? Refi later. Look, don't gamble with the Feds because they will screw us. They'll screw you and they'll leave us wondering, why didn't we? Because that happens all the time. So lock in your rate. Don't play games. Do it. I was at our mastermind, Ford Mastermind this weekend in Scottsdale. It was beautiful, by the way. I missed the rain here in San Diego and it's back to sunny again. So I loved it. Anyways, even though I was working the whole time or masterminding the whole time, what do you even call it? Tons of great speakers, got to see people from all over the country that are in real estate, mortgage, all that stuff. And those that are in real estate, yes, we're feeling pain. Even those that are doing well, that are making it, it's a lot of work. It's working 10 times harder for the dollar. It's stressful. Things blow up, things go well. Poor clients, they're trying to buy houses, they're trying to refi, they just want rates to go down. Affordability is tough. Whether you're talking to wholesalers or flippers or builders, it's tough, guys. It's just really, really, really tough in the real estate business right now. And so how does it get easier? Well, it gets easier as rates cut and the Feds pivot. But also too is we need inventory. We really need inventory and we need more buyers. We need more sellers. And a lot of people are going to need a refi soon. So real estate's really challenging, but in the residential, It's not as challenging as things like in the commercial with the office and stuff. But as we move into 2024 and we get further into the year, we are going to start hitting more obstacles. We're going to hit obstacles where people that are dealing with commercial properties are going to have to make a decision where a rate adjust, or they didn't get the rents, they have to refi, all this stuff, right? So commercial is going to go through it on the multifamily. It's definitely going to go through on the office. That's just going to probably have some implosion in certain spots. People are going to have to give the properties back to the bank. People are definitely not going to be able to make it work. They're basically, it's already happening. They're going to get back properties. The other thing we're seeing in real estate is all these big guys. A lot of the big guys that bought properties, raised money, there's a lot of big guys that they're getting in trouble for not paying mortgages, embezzling money, stealing money. I mean, every other week I see a story about somebody's defrauding or stole money. So as Warren Buffett says, when the tide goes out, you know who's swimming naked. And we're starting to see the tide go out more and more, and it's going to continue. And the good characters will survive and thrive, and the bad characters, well, we're going to see they're naked. They're going to go down. They're not going to be able to hold on, and they're going to be getting in trouble, going to jail, paying fines. And that's just the cycle we're in. So if this is your first time in real estate, you haven't been through this, this is what happens when it becomes not so fun. This is what happens when rates go from 3 to 8. This is what happens when people over leverage. This is what happens when people jump in the market and they don't know what they're doing. They don't know how to do it. They don't know how to get out of it. So a lot of people raised money. A lot of people bought stuff, and they took other people's money and they didn't know what they were doing. And now those investors are going to lose. And then these guys are just, their reputation's tarnished, and some are going to get in trouble because they didn't do things right. So real estate is very challenging, very tough right now for the experts, let alone the average individuals that are in it. So when you have challenging times, and if you're watching this and you're a first-time home buyer, or you're somebody that has to refinance, if you're self-employed, you're rate adjusted, whatever it is, this is the time where you need to make sure, I keep saying this over and over, you are working with somebody that is experienced. And let me explain what experience means in real estate. Number one, they have a track record. Number two, they've actually closed a lot of deals. There's references, there's reviews. They're probably putting out content. They sound intelligent. They look like they sound and act like they know what the hell they're doing. They're funding deals. They're getting stuff done. They're helping friends and clients and other people you might know. But more importantly, if they've developed and have relationships with certain lenders or banks or private money lenders, whatever it is you need that can help you solve problems. And what they're really doing is they're advising. They're solving problems. That's what we are in real estate. Real estate agents, maybe title, escrow, lenders. We are good at solving problems. We are good at helping clients. And the longer we've been doing this, the more deals we've done more deals, more conversations. We've gotten really good at solving and helping people with problems. And that's what experience, and that's what separates us from the others. No offense, you can go to a big bank, you can walk in there, talk to somebody that maybe has been in this business for 2 years, or you can go to somebody like me that's a mortgage broker, and you're going to talk to somebody that's been doing this over 20 years. There's going to be a massive difference in the conversations, the question, all that. So what I will tell you, if you've been denied, if you didn't get a loan, if you didn't get pre-approved, if you're struggling, if you're self-employed and you think you can't be done, you should never give up. You should go seek out an experienced person like myself. Make sure that they tell you no. Get rejected by the experienced person. It's almost like, you hurt your arm or something's wrong with your teeth, or, you need to get a second or third opinion. You go to the first doctor to tell you this. You go to the second, they tell you this. You go to the third, they tell you this. You're like, wait a minute. Out of 3 doctors, 2 told me the same. The first guy said something different. The last 2 said this. I would go back to the first one and say, hey, wait a minute. Why didn't you say this? Figure out why they're wrong. So look, if you talk to 3 lenders and one tells you they can do it and 2 say no, is the 1 right or the 2 right? What is it? You need to make sure. I go and I talk to lenders on behalf of you guys. I go, hey, Mr. Lender, hey, Mr. Underwriter, we have a client. They're a first-time home buyer. They have 2 jobs. One's part-time, one's this, right? Hey, buyer, they're going to get a gift. Hey, buyer, they have credit problems. Like, hey, underwriter, sorry. Whatever the scenario is, we take it. We go to the underwriter. I also will talk to 3 different lenders, 3 different underwriters. And sometimes, yes, I get 2 that say yes and 1 that says no. I don't end it there. I go back to the one and say, why did you say no? I want to understand, because maybe they're like, maybe we misunderstood you. Maybe we didn't look at it the way they did. Maybe we didn't read the guidelines. Maybe we are just conservative and we're not going to do that deal. You want to know. That's why it's important to work with a good lender, work with a good agent, a mortgage broker, whatever it is. In real estate, it literally can separate you from closing on your house, closing on that investment property, getting that refinance done, getting that cash out that's needed to put back in the property or deploy into your business. Like taking you out of a big high interest rate that adjusted, right? Saving a business, saving you needed the money for medical or anything. It literally, I'm telling you guys this, every single week I am solving problems for you clients that they couldn't get done somewhere else, that somebody else told them no. And I came along and I look like a genius, and I'm not really a genius. I just know who to talk to, how to talk to them, and how to get it done. And if I cannot get it done, I will tell you I can't. Am I the end all be all? No, but I always say if I can't get it done, I feel like it can't get done. So I just wanted to preach that because this is so important. And I'm seeing this now more and more people coming to me, which is great, and getting the no or the rejection, and we get it done. And it literally can be life-changing. I'm telling you, life-changing. End of story. So if you're a home buyer and you don't feel confident and comfortable and you're not relating to that person you're talking to, and they're not asking you the right questions, and they're not making you feel confident, and they're not explaining things, and you feel confused, that is the wrong realtor, insurance guy, lender, mortgage broker, whatever you're talking to. Go interview and talk to somebody else that gives you all that confidence, all that love and support. So when you make a decision, you alone feel confident based off the information that you got. So I'm going to leave with that one and quit talking about that, but it's so important. One of the things that goes around, you hear it's on, agents say this, CNBC, things like that, is interest rates don't matter. The rich don't care about interest rates. They'll buy whatever, that's cash. It's total bullshit. I've had multiple conversations last week with people that can afford a very, very expensive house. And I have one that is selling a very, very expensive house. And they're talking to that house is billionaires, 100 millionaires, multi-billionaires, all that. Remember, if they're a billionaire and they're borrowing against their stock portfolio, let's say they have $1 billion in Google. I'm just picking a number. I'm picking a person, right? I'm just exaggerating, but this could be a true story. They used to borrow that money at 1.5%, 2.5%. Now they go borrow the money. They're like, wait a minute, it's 8.5%. So if I want to go buy this $20 million house, it was going to cost me $50 million a month, plus all the other crap to run it, $100,000 a month. Now all of a sudden it costs $200. Like, nah, I don't need it. Nah, I don't want it. I'm telling you, interest rates, money, cost of things, it matters, folks. It matters to everybody. Even if that person pays cash, they might have borrowed that money from a line of credit. They might have borrowed that money from stocks. They might have taken it out of cash too. Whatever it is, it does matter. It's mattering to everybody. So when people say it doesn't matter, it's a bunch of baloney. I'm just going to tell you that because it does matter. And we're seeing it with property sitting and not getting bought up because the people before, you bring those interest rates back down 2-3% and people can borrow off their assets. It's called, they have $1 billion to do a pledge asset loan. That means they give you money based off your stock portfolio and they could borrow at 2%. Trust me, they're buying a lot of things now that they're not buying. So some of the top pain points that buyers are dealing with, as we know, mortgage rates, inventory, affordability. I got to sell your house. These are big problems. These are causing people to freeze in their tracks. These are causing people to not make a move. These are causing people to sit on the sideline. These are causing people not to list their homes and buy another home. Mortgage rates, inventory, affordability, selling my house. Those are huge, huge problems for the first-time home buyer right now. And how do you solve them? Number one, we got to get interest rates down to pop up affordability and make it more sense. Selling your house, there's bridge loans, there's lines of credits, there is other alternatives. If that's what's sticking you, reach out to me. I can give you some formulas, whether it's a bridge loan where you take money out of your existing and then we use that to buy another one. There's that. And yes, we have some scenarios we don't have to hit for your current payment. So there's bridge loans where they take money out of your primary, you buy another one, and they don't hit you for that payment. There's lenders that are doing that can help you, that you can use that equity and buy now, because some people don't want to wait. Some people are, I'm in a condo and I'm like, I got to get out of here. I've got kids, or I'm in a house, it's way too small. So take advantage of these things to help solve, selling your home. Another thing, affordability. How do we get around that? Yeah, you might have to do a 2-1 buy down. You might have to go to the seller and ask them to pay for closing costs. You've got to just extend the runway until rates come down. So you got to buy the 2-1 buy down. So instead of the rate being 6, it could be 5. Instead of 7, it could be 5. Instead of 7, it could be 6. Instead of 7, it could be 4. And then it ramps back up. That's where the 3-2-1 is, or the 2-1 buy down, or 1-1. People just have to work with what they have. So if rates are going to take longer to come down, you just have to work with the team or professionals that know how to get you what you want and put you in a position to win. It's not easy, but think about it. It's not going to get any easier when rates go down and there's not enough inventory. And we got many more buyers that are basically fighting over not enough homes, because that is going to be what's going to happen.
Let's talk a little bit about how things are going, because we saw interest rates start to come down and then rise back up. What does that mortgage rate mean for the buyers? What does it mean for the builders?
Yeah, you're right. It's been a little bumpy over the last, 12, 18 months. And in the fourth quarter, we saw rates drop back into the 6s.
Yeah.
And what was so nice about that, Becky, is the consumer's actually in a very different place than they were a year ago, 18 months ago, where they thought rates were going to, be back into the 3s or maybe low 4s. So the consumers kind of met us halfway. So when they dropped into the 6s, we had the ability with all of our tools to get them comfortably into 5% interest rates. And I think the consumer recognizes, by any long-term historic standard, that's a really good thing. Today, they've moved back up. I mean, the 10 years, at 4.3? Yeah. Rates have moved into the low 7s. Interesting, we just reported our earnings, and last quarter, the average coupon of all of our closings rate was like 6.7%. So it really tells you how far the customer and the consumers come. But once again, we have the tools to get them into the low 5s, the mid 5s, really personalize a rate based on what their needs are.
What tools do you use, and what does that mean for your profitability?
Yeah, it's a number of different tools, and I think not painting all customers with one brush is probably the most important part of that. Some customers need a little bit of help with cash at closing. Some want the confidence of a 30-year fixed rate, and so we'll do forward commitments. Some need a temporary support, so they might do a 2-1 or 3-2-1 buy down. That 6.7 would be the final coupon rate, but it tells you what they expect to have happen. The cost of when we first started doing this a couple years ago was actually much more significant, because we were trying to go from the 7s down to 3.99 or 4.25. Today, when we're looking at 5.5, 5 and 5.75, it's just not as bad.
Meaning customers are thinking, okay, 5.5 sounds pretty great to me right now.
That's right.
Versus 2 years ago, that was sticker shock.
As silly as it is, they went to 8 so quick that I think it kind of reset the customer's mind so that they don't expect that they're going back to 3.99.
So every time Diana looks on, she says, yeah, it's not a demand problem.
It's not a demand problem.
So why aren't you building more? Why aren't home builders matching in? If you can sell, why don't you match the demand? Why can't inventory match the demand? It takes time, or?
Well, we have, if you look at the new home inventory across the country today, I would tell you it's a really healthy, probably 7 months of supply. The real important detail there, Joe, is what is the finished inventory, and that's relatively low. So I think that's actually a really nice balance, because I think we're like 1.4, 1.5 months of finished inventory. I want to have inventory at all stages of the production cycle, and we do. The resale inventory is also pretty tight, and that's the lockup effect you keep hearing about. I think we just moved to about 3 months, but the devil's always in the detail.
How's land? Do you buy big plots of land? I can remember in years past, Lennar, somebody got in trouble. They had spent so much money, and then the land prices dropped, and they were stuck with it and had to write down. But how do you do that? Do you buy a huge swath of land to put up a development?
We do. We're a developer first.
Is it based on mortgage rates too, or?
Well, when you underwrite the land, recognize land I'm buying today is not coming to market for 2 to 3 years. So it's really the land that I bought back in 21, 22. When I look at Taylor Morrison, we still have just under 50% of our land that's purchased pre-COVID. So it's actually from what it's sitting on our balance sheet, it's in a really good place. But yeah, we buy parcels. Our average is probably 150 lots, Joe.
It's too expensive to build the homes? Is it too hard to find people to build them? Like what would be the limiting factor when you look at this?
So I guess a couple things there. One, all consumers aren't created equally. So when I think about the support that we need to give to that first-time buyer, they may not have the equity in the house that a move-up or a 50-plus, lifestyle buyer has. So most of our incentives back here are going to really support that first-time buyer. You look at the average equity that's out there today, and I think I just read something that said, if you've owned your home about 4 years, and you bought a medium-priced home about 4 years ago, you have over $200,000 in equity. So they have, if you bought it in 2000, you might have over 400,000 on average. So they have other levers to pull. As far as the labor environment, I'm not going to.
So in a recent article that Fortune wrote, I was just briefly reading it, the average home buyer has to make $50,000 more per year to qualify to buy a home in 2024. That's because prices have gone up, insurance, rates, the whole affordability. 50,000 smackaroonies. That means you got to get a side hustle. You got to make more money or raises. The good news is hopefully some of you guys pre-pandemic have started to make more money. Not sure there's been more opportunity, but $50,000 is a significant number when you talk about an average person right there. It's pretty crazy. All right, so in this wrapping this up, last but not least, Housing Wire article, San Diego housing market has some of the tightest supply. So I wanted to go through some of this data. So California is home to roughly 39 million people, making it far from the nation's most popular state. In 2022, however, only 55.3 of its occupied homes were owner-occupied, the third lowest percent in the U.S. after New York, 53.9, and Washington, 42.3. Landing a California home is hard and expensive. That is true, especially in San Diego, that makes the work of buying and selling homes in the state, Golden State, lucrative and competitive. That's why you need a good team, my friend. That's what I told you earlier. Team matters. Okay, let's look at some fun data here. The number of listings in San Diego fell 50.5 from 2019 to 2023, almost double to the 26.4 drop experienced by the rest of the country. Holy smokes. The share of listings posted by offices meaning like real estate offices. As with the listings, the pullback in purchase mortgages from 2019 to 2023 was pronounced in San Diego and the rest of California than the rest of the United States. San Diego produced about 42% fewer conforming loans and 31 jumbo from 23 than 2019. Crazy. While borrowers' loan types preferences were constant, the number of borrowers shrank considerably over the period. That suggests lenders and mortgage servicers too have to fight for their slice of a pie that shrank significantly in the last 2 years. Yeah. Honestly, guys, so San Diego is one of the toughest places with inventory, as you can tell, mortgages. So people here in real estate, as I mentioned before on this, are really getting hurt. Reality's tough here. So this is why, if you never heard this saying, I'll leave you with this. San Diego has the four borders. We've got the water to the west, Mexico to the south, the mountains desert to the east, and we got Camp Pendleton to the north. So we basically are landlocked here. We don't have a lot of land. So that's why ADU gameplay, knocking down houses, building new ones, redoing houses, wholesalers, flippers, builders, all that are really trying to get in here. But it's hard to get stuff done with the permits and all that stuff. So San Diego is definitely feeling the pain because we have such a lack of inventory. So it's hard for buyers. But that means if you can come here and find those deals, there's so much opportunity for upside. That's why flippers that find good deals can do really, really well. Anyways, everybody, thanks for watching this week. That's it until next week. I'll catch you guys with much more data. Hopefully, the feds won't say too much crazy stuff and whack rates out of line too much, but maybe it's already mixed in the 10-year treasury. Who knows? Until then, have a great week. If I can help you with anything, reach out. Don't ever hesitate to call me, ask questions, chat soon.